We got André. We are very happy to have you here. We just got through an amazing chat about wine, the non-pretentiousness of it, the importance of it in our culture. We went through and down some rabbit holes.
No, we did. That was my fault. I kind of get off subject.
That's the fun of it.
I mean, it kind of fucked me in school, but yeah, in real life, I think I'm good.
It's not just about being an influencer. Some might say disruptor, but it's basically about saying that this wine world's for everybody, and it was great to speak to somebody that's really smashed open those doors and made an impact. And I mean, just like bringing together wine and hip-hop culture, and I mean, and bringing in humor, and that's a way to bring people together, and that's what you showed us today in the origin story is just awesome.
It's your life. Yeah, like you bring all your interests together.
Well, and yeah, your story is a great one. Going from finance into being a somm, working in restaurants from your teenage years all the way through, and still to this day.
Yeah.
To actually being a winemaker. So it was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much. If you guys want to learn more, I mean, I'm not kidding. This is one of the most entertaining podcast we've done.
For real.
Well, I still gotta watch the other one with the rabbit, but still.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Highlight for me was like just being here. Like, you guys are like you're real serious wine people, and then you have this serious podcast that is not like any other wine podcast where we all want to sit around and have a circle jerk about malolactic fermentation. Right? You know what I mean? I could do that. I'm gonna come first. I'm sorry.
You're gonna come first.
Then I'm gonna leave. But we could have this candid conversation and it's fun, and it was like, I have to say, like, it felt like I'm just like hanging out with some friends of mine, and maybe that's why I wasn't on script, but like you guys made it feel comfortable, and like, yeah, I think you're right. It felt good to be here, and my instinct said that I should come here. I didn't want to do it on Zoom or some shit like that, and I was like, no, I can come see these guys.
It makes it a lot of fun.
And it felt good to be in your space, and you guys have been nothing but generous to me. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And last note, learning the story and hearing how you can get into the wine business if you just have a bit of a passion for it, you're gonna love the story of how André got into making his own wine. So check out Go With Your Palate, enjoy, and stay tuned. I never understood the socks during sex thing. That's a thing.
That is a thing.
To wear your socks?
Yeah, some guys like have to wear their socks during sex.
Have to?
Well, you don't get any grip though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lose all the grip. You gotta use the socks
business.
that you get at the fucking jump around houses. You know, they got the grip on them.
No,
Totally.
or the Pilates socks.
Oh,
The little
knobs on
they have a
them?
little grips on the bottom. Okay, that I could see if you're doing some.
Gives a new
ceiling
meaning
work.
to rib for her pleasure. Let me get the rib socks, please.
Yeah, that would work.
That's not this podcast, Andre. This is not this
we're
podcast.
not-
Yeah, make sure.
Oh, we can talk about anything.
I remind you of what podcast.
There is
I'm on.
specifically a part of our podcast where it is talking about whatever the fuck else. So
Okay, yeah, that's true.
It's anything.
Yeah,
It is.
wine pairs with all of that.
Well, we had the lady on, Shay Martin. She's the girl that you saw. Did you see that?
I heard about.
I heard about. Yeah,
Shay's
so
awesome.
she, that was, and like leading up to Valentine's Day, it was good timing, and like,
absolutely.
she's got a great story, and the history of like sex toys in Japan is what's really hilarious because they didn't allow, like you couldn't have it be phallic, so like they had to make them look like animals.
Right, like emojis.
Exactly, yeah. And now you have a whole culture that is into anime porn. Like that's what happens when you fucking restrict people from there. I bet you there's a relationship. That was a great story though. And then they bring the rabbit over here. They got the magic wand.
Yep. No,
now I got like 3 of those things.
Dude, I'm not complaining.
No, those things are
we
great.
got that last episode we were left with a lot of gifts,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So guess what people are getting for Christmas this year from me? They got a lot of surprises.
Oh, is that for my birthday? Is that what I'm getting? We're here putting plugs in for Shay Martin in the cold open. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Shay.
Yeah.
We're still going.
That's it, dude. If I open a present tonight and it's a dildo, I'm gonna throw it at you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll duck because I have cat-like reflexes.
It's the best.
Well, shall we do the intro?
Welcome to Go With Your Palate.
Welcome. I'm Joe
We're
Wagner.
on the podcast? I didn't even know. What's happening?
This is the living room, man. This is we're gonna watch.
I thought we were just having lunch.
We're gonna watch a game after this. So you got me, Joe Wagner, the host, co-host Chris Fat Mario Rubio, and we got André Mack. We got some stories to hear from him today. So I'm going to do the brief intro. So finance business turned sommelier turned winemaker and restaurateur.
I feel like I've done a lot of it.
Yeah,
but you have to say, like, I was a waiter first. Like the whole idea of like I had this career like in finance, like that was very, very short lived. You know, maybe less than 24 months. And then, but before that, I was a waiter all my life.
Okay.
You know, most of my life, right? Like, you know, from like 19 to I don't know 25 or some shit. I don't know. Off and on.
I gotta ask because you're you know getting to know you a little bit. You've got just a presence. You've got an aura about you. All that stuff. You're an exciting person. And how the fuck and why the fuck did you get into finance? Because that sounds like boring as shit.
Well, I think I watched too many episodes. It totally was, right? But like you can make some mean cash. Like what I realized, like in college, like the kids that were artists or had creativity, they knew what they were going to do. They didn't know if they were going to make any money, but that's what they did, right? And then the other people who didn't know what the fuck they wanted to do, the rowdy people, all that, they're like, I'm going to go into finance. Right? I can make some mean cash until I don't know what I want to do until I'm 35. Then 35, I can figure out what I wanted to do. And I think for me, I just watched one too many. It was this movie called Barbarians at the Gate. And it was over leveraged buyouts. And it was on HBO. And I watched that shit like almost every single day.
Okay.
And, you know, on top of like Gordon Gekko, GG from Wall Street. And I was like, I'm going to do this shit.
Yeah.
And so I went and took Series 7 and Series 63. And then realized you couldn't give any advice. They didn't do shit. Like it was before. Basically, I gave stock quotes over the phone.
Okay.
Like nobody. Like there was no iPhone, right? So stock quotes, all that shit. People would just call, and I would just sit there and race. You know, we would race remote control cars around the cubicle. It was unlimited overtime, and you know, and you just sat there. All you know, they had a shower. Like I mean, I would. You know, I could do. Weeks
You could
at
literally
a time.
live there.
And it was just like, okay, whatever. Then what you realize after working in restaurants that, you know, you're a people person. Like, I like to talk to people. I like to go up. Like, their every day was kind of the same. In the restaurant, not necessarily. And then there was a camaraderie. There where you left afterwards with cash in your pocket. And it just didn't speak to me.
Yeah.
You know, I thought this was how I was going to make money, blah, blah, blah. And, like, it didn't work out. And so when they asked about severance, I was like, what the fuck is that? I have no idea what that is. And I said, so I'm not getting fired. She's like, no, you're not getting fired. I said, are you sure? I got to go tell my mama. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was not playing that. I was like, no. She's like, no, you're not getting fired. I said, well, great. And I just started packing up my desk. And she goes, no. In 8 weeks, in 8 weeks' time, when officially that's when it'll be over. But that was the time. And that was it. You know,
So if you were more in an environment like, I don't know, the Wolf of Wall Street, would that have changed your mind?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I'm down for a good distraction.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So that would have been it. But like, yeah, if it was more like that and had more an edge to it, then I probably would have. But like, it just wasn't. It didn't feel right. And it was so funny to think that like, I would say to myself, well, maybe I'm not gonna make any real money because I didn't go to a real school. And two, you know, you got to move to New York. And my thing was like, I'm not moving there. Those guys are assholes, right? You know what I mean? Like it was like I never had a desire, and now all of a sudden, like I'm kind of the quintessential New York, right?
You were coming out of San Antonio,
correct?
Right,
Yep.
and then went to pursue finance in New York.
No. I was doing finance in San Antonio at Citicorp Investment Services.
Oh,
so I got a job there, and so when anybody would pick up a phone next to an ATM that had a balance of over $300,000 in accounts, that was Citicorp Investment Service, and it would ring in my office at somebody's desk there.
Oh, wow.
All the way in San Antonio. And
Wow.
that's what we did. And then finally I was just like, I don't know what's happening. And normally what happened was you could go and get your licensing there and then leave. You had, right? So that's what people were doing because you didn't have to pay for it. It was free.
Got it.
And then right when I signed up, they were like, no, you have to commit.
Oh.
And so that's kind of where I got stuck. And but
you got stuck for a couple years, and then where was like the Wine Epiphany?
Wine Epiphany came from, you know, I didn't drink wine. And like, you know, I say this all the time, like I grew up on like hip hop and punk rock and, you know, that and skateboarding kind of thing. And I think hip hop is a genre of music that it's aspirational, but it tells you, right? It tells you what clothes to wear, what shoes are cool, like how to walk, how to carry yourself, all down to like what type of woman to be attracted to.
That's a good point.
Right. And so it tells you what to drink, right? So all of a sudden, you know, they're drinking 40 ounces and you're like, damn, this tastes like Ice Cube pissed on charcoal. You know what I'm saying? Like then it tastes good, right?
Yeah.
And so you're in this thing. And so that's kind of what it was. And I remember when I turned, so I drank 40 ounces. I mean, I went to the grocery store and wrote a check for 2 cases, which is $24, right? That's, I'm like fucking 18, right?
Dude,
and
yeah.
so you're like, okay. And that wasn't introduced to drinking. So then finally, when you turn 21, I'm at a bar. I don't know what to drink.
They don't have 40s at bars.
Yeah. So then now I'm drinking Dollar Draft, Budweiser, and it's like water.
Yeah.
Then you drink $2 Heinekens, and then you're like, okay, I'm tired of beer. What should I drink? And so I don't know. And so I'm like thinking. I'm like, oh shit. I think there was a movie called Tequila Sunrise. I think it's a drink. So I say, hey bartender, I'll take a Tequila Sunrise. And that's how it starts. So then I would go through that, and I'm like, yeah, totally right.
I
Like,
know.
oh my
It's
God.
like I was thinking that
like all that
grenadine,
and orange
all
juice,
this
and you're like,
tequila.
fuck, dude. And then finally, and now it's all popular culture. So now it's like, oh, I watch fucking Casino all the time.
Yeah.
Goodfellas, and they're drinking Cuddy and soda, but like I think even in the when you had the closed caption on watching the movie, it says Cuddy Shark. So I was like, I'll take a Cuddy Shark and soda.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The whole time. So I've been saying it for months to the bartender, and then I was with another fellow waiter when we were on our break, and he says, "Did you just say shark?" And he was like on the ground laughing. He's like, it's Sark, Andre, like a fucking chip. And I'm like, fuck you, dude. He knew what I was talking about.
I actually didn't even know a Sark was a chip.
Yeah, it's a chip. So
You should have just Joe Pesci it right there. Be like, you call me a clown?
Yeah, totally. Do I amuse you?
Yeah.
So it took like a fucking
Make you
picking the
fucking
blanket
laugh?
too big to his neck, and so I was just like, okay. And so that's how I learned to drink, was like through popular culture, through those things. So I didn't drink wine like from the outside looking in. So that, I get Severance. Now I'm at home hanging out. I think I'm watching some trash shit like Judge Judy. I would fall asleep, kind of wake back up, and then they would be playing back-to-back episodes of the show called Frasier. And so they still had the new seasons on. I always thought it was corny. I never even gave it a chance. I thought it was corny. I don't know what's going on there. But now I can't find the remote. I'm laying on the sofa, and I'm watching the show. And it's about these two pompous brothers and how they really interact around wine especially, but alcohol, made it inviting. I was intrigued. And I was like, oh. And so that show gave me the courage to have wine in my life. Like, not that I thought I would have a career with it. Like, I didn't know anything about careers. I just knew that, like, they seem to be enjoying themselves. They have wine, and I should do that. And so it really gave me, and, like I said, like, from the outside looking in, when you don't see anybody that looks like you, is not, physically looks like you, people that you like your age or anything like that, dressed like you don't think it's for you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of even hard to even walk through the door. And I've always thought, like, the greatest foil to pretension is humor. And that show, if I can make fun of myself before they can make fun of me, then I win, right? Or before I embarrass myself. And so
Sounds like how I grew up.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's definitely a defense mechanism for sure,
Yeah.
and a coping one at that. But like, it's like, okay, hey, I'll go in, and that show gave me the courage, and I would go in, and you're in line, and they got a little NyQuil cup and shit, and like you're in line.
Oh yeah, that kind of taste.
Yeah. So then you walk
Yeah.
up, and they're pouring like some Malbec or something, so they pour it, and like as soon as I turn around, I don't even get to taste it, and the person behind me says, "So is it good? So is it good?" I'm like, I don't know what to say. I haven't tasted it yet, and all I said was like, "It's no Chateau de Chem," and everybody started laughing. And I didn't know that Chateau de Chem was so expensive that no one would ever taste it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was white. I didn't know it was sweet. But it was something that I heard on the show about
Yeah.
Chateau de Chem.
No
So I
shit.
just
That
said
was,
it.
was that like your first sip of wine?
No, it wasn't my first sip
Okay,
of wine.
okay.
Like, first sip of wine, I grew up in a military family, so we grew up overseas. Like, we had like Blue Vine, which is basically,
Oh, yeah.
to you guys that listen out there, is kind of like mulled wine that's, you can heat it up, you know what
Yeah.
I mean, in the wintertime. So that's kind of what I've had. Wine wasn't, alcohol wasn't a big part of our family at all.
Yeah.
Outside of the occasional holiday cheer, there wasn't really much drinking going on, unless it was my uncle like dipping into my parents' stash. You know what I mean? But other than that, there wasn't really much. But that show gave me the courage to have wine in my life.
That's
And then
funny. That's what you took away Chateau de Chem from Frasier.
Chateau de Chem. First time I heard the Gaia was on that show. 61. They talk about 61 Bordeaux a lot. Aubryon, like just Gewürztraminer, Sauvignon Blanc.
So I never watched Frasier, so I didn't know that wine was so intertwined with that
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, they're actually doing a blind tasting, and he's blindfolded.
Okay.
I didn't know that was real. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all of those things, and like that enticed me to say, oh, hey, let me have wine in my life. And then, what you realize too is that wine people love to talk. I'm gonna be talking on this microphone all day.
Yeah.
But like, they love to talk in that sense that like, they're wanting to share their information. I didn't get that. And so when I got there, everybody wanted to talk. And for me, I was just up front. I was like, dude, I got $11 a day. I got $11. Like, what you got for me?
Yeah.
You know, and they would go, and I said, yeah, hey, today I got $22. I got $30 or whatever it is. And they would go pick out something for me. And whatever little tidbit that they told me about it, that's what I would store. And, you know, that's what I would tell if I was sharing the wine with someone else. And then you catch the wine. And then then the money runs out, severance. Now I got to go back to work. And I end up going back to work. And now, like, wine is this thing that I'm pursuing. And then you catch the wine bug. And then you're on it.
Yeah.
But, like, from that moment of watching Frasier, 18 months later, I was working at the French Laundry.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was pretty quick.
I mean, I think you bring up a good point about the the camaraderie between wine consumers, and I think that's something that COVID may have screwed up a little bit. Maybe this next generation, like, there's a lapse in that kind of continuation.
Yep.
But overall, when you get people together, they want to know your opinion. The broad world of wine. There's so many opportunities out there to try things. If you don't like it, you don't need to talk shit about it. You can, but otherwise, you can just swap out, try something else.
Correct. Well, and that's how I feel about, like, just my professional career and, like, talking about wine on camera. It's just like, why waste your breath on something that's negative? I know the internet is bloodthirsty. I know that it's savage, and that's what people want to hear. But my thing is, like, I want to talk about the great things that people are doing, not the shitty things. I don't want to drink, Frasier out of a box to review it and talk shit about it. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because and for everybody, they're an expert in their own taste. That's what I teach. You know what you like or dislike. You don't need me to tell you, right? Like, you know whether you like Diet Coke, whatever. And my thing is, I tell everybody, your relationship with wine is not about monogamy. First and foremost, it's to try every fucking wine that's out there.
I like that. That's a selling point right there.
It is.
You can be a whore for wine all you want without any financial ramifications.
You can be promiscuous. You can be a promiscuous Pinot Noir.
It's actually promoted.
Yeah. No, and I think when you explain that to people, I mean, I think sometimes I have to use harsh analogies or that, not harsh, but like that kind of go overboard or silly to get people to understand just how simple it is, right? You know what? Hey, I don't like Pinotage. Right? Put it this way. I haven't found one that I like, but every time I'm at a tasting, if there is one, I go there to go taste it. And if it's maybe it's different. Maybe I don't like it all the way, but I know that it tastes different than some of the other ones I taste. I ask questions. Hey, what are you guys doing here? Help me understand what makes it different or whatever. But, like, that's it. It's like, you don't, just because you don't like Merlot doesn't mean, like, I'm still willing to try it. And I'm willing to try anything out there just because you can.
Yeah.
And there's no consequence for it.
So you said when you got to the French Laundry, you're 18 months after your severance runs out.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so that journey, were you already a somm? You had certification?
I've never heard. No.
You were going.
So I had certification. I never heard of the word sommelier.
Yeah.
Like, no one in my family knows. Like, they were like Somalia. They had no idea.
Somalia.
They had no idea. My mom's like, so baby, you do what? What you gonna ready to do? I said no. I just open the wine. You're like, so they paying you money and you like opening wine and drinking wine and pouring it at the table? I said, yeah. She's like, what? I was like, yeah. And then she's like, I don't know how you're my fucking kid, but like, you know what I mean? But yeah. So I caught the wine bug. I was working at a place called the Palm Steakhouse, and I was
classic,
working, yeah. So I was working there. They probably had like 60 wines on the wine list.
Yeah.
We start training. We taste maybe 50% of the wines on the wine list over 2 nights, and that was the first time. Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, Chardonnay. And it blew my fucking mind. I was like, what? Like, all of these are different. They look the same. You know what I mean? Like, you knew they were different from the bottles, but actually be able to taste them to see that they were distinctively different and smell and taste and all those things. And then I remember they had a sommelier. He was a general manager, but he was like the corporate sommelier that did all the deals. And he was just a good-looking dude, dressed well, general manager, like, and kind of a dickhead, right? Where it's like, so you're wearing your Porsche key on your belt buckle, and your car is in fucking Philadelphia, right? You know what I mean? Right? But I got it. It resonated. I was like, wow, like, I guess you can make some money doing this. I just never knew it was a thing.
Yeah.
And then that's when I heard certification, and so I took the first level of everything. But I think the first for quarter of the master sommelier, I remember there was some guy who transferred from like Orlando. And that was a big deal down there. And so he comes, he's like, you should do it. You should do this. And I was like, what? And so, yeah, we go to like a an Indian reservation. I don't know. Is that? Did we even say that? What did we say? A nation, a sovereign nation.
Yeah.
So we would go to a sovereign nation casino it's called Mississippi. No, it's called Philly, Mississippi, or something like that. It was in Mississippi. I can't remember. It was in some place, and we drove, and I went and took the first level.
Oh wow!
That's what I did. So I took the first level, everything, and then finally I get like my first buying job, but they couldn't afford me, so I still had to be a waiter, but I bought all the wine, and that was a steakhouse called Bohannon's. It's right next door. So I don't know if you know Bohannon's. Yeah. So I was like the first employee, and then I was in the commercial. Like they had these commercials. Yeah, it was me and Mark talking in the commercial. Yeah, and then I had negotiated a deal with him. But yeah, so that's how I started. And then your palate is changing, right? So like I taste like 2,500 wines, and it was really the distributors who were trying to sell me something, but also had compassion for me, knowing that it would be like the kid doesn't really know shit kind of thing.
So the reps are sitting there teaching you, tasting
and learning from them. And then once you started, they realized that I was asking questions that they couldn't answer. Then it was the next thing. So it was that kind of thing for me, and like that was it. And then I had never heard of a sommelier, and then that was it. And then next thing you know, that was it.
You got the bug. Now you're running down that path.
And next thing you know, yeah. And then, I mean, and I was anxious to leave. It's kind of one of those things where you felt too big for a town, and that makes me sound like a dickhead. It was just like, I don't know where to go. There's not enough resources here. And I remember a bartender said to me, he's like, I think you have to leave. I go, what do you mean? Because I think like you have to go. Like there's no logical place for you to go from here.
You're kept out.
Yeah. And then so just by chance of meeting people, somebody said, hey, I got to hire 6 sommeliers at French Laundry. Do you want to be one? And I was like, fuck yeah.
And so you flew out, interviewed, and
yeah. So I was staging. I read it. So a lot comes from you're in a small market. Texas wasn't as big wine. It was a big consumer wine market, but wasn't big as far as personality. You didn't have Tex Somm and
that
all of those sommeliers. So you had one master sommelier in the whole state of Texas. His name was Paul Roberts, and he crew cupped it. So he passed it on his first time around. And there was a magazine, Wine Enthusiast, something like that, and they had a section called Wine Enthusiast. It was called Wine List Confidential, and it had all these kind of things, and it listed 3 people in sommeliers that they follow: Virginia Phillips, Jason Smith from Charlie Trotters, and him. And I picked up the phone. I don't know why. I picked up the phone and called all of them at work. Like I was just so moved. I was like, I want to come like work for you guys for free. And so Jason Smith was the only person that called up, and I didn't realize. And so so he said, yeah, sure, we do it all. Like you should come. We never had anybody do it with wine, but we had people do it with the chef. So you can come.
Yeah.
So then I called Paul, and he never answered, and I didn't leave a message. We kept playing phone tag. Then I left a message. And then he never called me back. And then I think I was supposed to go up there on a Thursday, and like Wednesday night at work, Leon Sakota calls me and it's like, yo,
I fucking love Leon.
Yeah, he's like, show up at this back door at this time. And I was like, and then when I got there, I was like, I just really want to go shopping with my girlfriend at the mall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not going here. This is so stupid. And she's like, well, you're already here. And I was already here, and I walked in the door, and it changed my life. All right, so I'm there talking to Paul, and he's like, he says, hey, he goes, I'm sorry I would have wrote you back or called you back. Yeah. But that was the Thursday. He says, on Monday, I accepted the job to be Thomas Keller's wine director. And then we had margaritas. And Josh Reynolds came, we hung out. Then we got up, and he's like, hey, it's time to work. We had to go work the floor now. And I got up, and he's like, no, get your margarita. So I took the margarita, put it in the back, and then we worked the floor. And, he was just asking me questions. He's like, at the end, he's like, I got to hire 6 sommeliers. Do you want to come to California?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, fuck yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then I went and staged at Charlie Trotters, and then they were like, well, in order to be a sommelier here, you have to train for 6 months. And so we have an opening coming. Why don't you go home, get your shit, and come back? And I was like, kind of waiting on the French Laundry offer.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And then I came here and started working. And
So is a stage a now normal thing for somms to do?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Because this is the first time I've actually heard somebody talk about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the kitchen, very common, but maybe even less common in the kitchen now, I think, than it used to be.
Oh, yeah, because it's something about free labor.
Yeah. Something it's kind of frowned upon, free labor.
Now it is, yeah. But my thing was always like, I have more time than money. Right? So it's like, I think I had one night off. I had Tuesday nights off. And on that night, there was only one Michelin quality restaurant that was in San Antonio, our town. And I asked them, could I come and wash dishes? I just wanted to be a part of the energy, see how it worked. And they thought I was a spy, so they didn't let me. But I still love you guys. I still love you. And so it's kind of a secret.
That's such a big part of it, though. Is just like getting out there. And that's where I hope our listeners understand. It's like people have ideas and they want to try something, but it's the actual doing of that first step that people don't.
Correct.
And once you just get past that, you just say, yeah, I got an idea. I'm gonna fucking do it. And you take that one little tiptoe step. Then it's a world like
you have
of difference.
And I think there's a lot of people out there that like. It was funny to me because they were like, "Oh no, I just like to come up with the ideas." So they come up with the idea, say it. Somebody should do this, and when they do it, they want to take credit for it, which is so fucking lame. I don't know how you live your life that way, but like for me, it was always, "Oh fuck!" Like, hey, I have this idea, and then when the internet came along, let me run it. Let me just type something in. And then you would see somebody already did it, and you're like, fuck, okay, maybe this room not. And then it's the weird times where you type it in, and it's like crickets. And like that's a real moment where you're like, so nobody's doing this thing that I just thought of right now.
Yeah.
How can I do that? And I tell everybody, it's like, you know what? If it's a business, go buy the URL. Like, how can you continue to work on it? Build the vision how you see it. So start with the website. Build with that. That's like minimum income. Like own the domain name. It feels like you own something now, right? Like go there. I mean, now it's totally different, but like that's always been my thing. It's like go do or experience part of it. Like go work for free. Go work for free. And I tell everybody, like, you want to be in the wine business? All 50 states make wine. You don't have to go to Napa. You don't have to go to Washington. Like, go to your local winery. Maybe that's a couple hours. Go there and see what it looks like. It's not going to be the same, but at least, like, you know the jargon, you know how the equipment, the layout, and how things are supposed to go. And then from there, you can decide whether or not you want to go. But, like, you have a phone. Like to me, it's the most amazing thing. And even with my own kids, that you're so complacent with, you have the most powerful tool in the world.
It really is.
At your fingertips. And so that was it for me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go work for free. I can learn all of this stuff for free.
I love that. It goes back to just like, don't just talk about it, be about it.
Correct.
And I feel like even with technology now, you're right. There's just so much that we didn't even have like back in the day. Like so much knowledge just there at your fingertips. But you just got to remember to break through the doom scrolling to go do those ideas that you're popping off and go do. And I was gonna ask you when you're talking about starting drinking 40s and stuff. What was your 40? Like
it was the Tiger, brother. It was the 800.
800. Okay.
Olde English, brother.
Okay. I was like King Cobra,
no.
211.
No. So a little bit of that. So like I think like
I like the Olde English too.
Yeah, Mickey's foamed up too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you would open it would foam no matter how cold you had it. And then St. Od's was like, okay, St. Od's is a little expensive. Crazy Horse was like $2. So you can get like Country Club for 99 cents.
Yeah.
Right. So this is my thing. Like I never wanted to forget where I came from. So like every month when we counted inventory, when it started working for Thomas, the night before I would watch Wesley Snipes movies and drink a 40 ounce.
No way.
I watched Wesley Snipes like when he was the new action hero, right?
Yeah.
So I'd drink 40 ounces and watch that.
Always been on black. Like, dude, passenger 57.
See? And so now I moved to New York. Now I live in Manhattan. And I couldn't find a 40 ounce, like without having to go far. So so then I would figure out 40 ounce. So like I know that again. It's like Country Club was like 99 cents or like 89 cents. That was okay. But like the sweet spot and where we drank was OE. So it was OE, Olde English 800. That's what we drank. And then the other ones were weird. Like if you can find Crazy Horse, they packed a wallet. They had like more alcohol in it. But that's kind of where I started.
Did you guys have King Cobra?
Yeah, there was King Cobra, but like King Cobra was like to me was like what Billy D drank. You know what I mean? Like, and Colt 45, that was like the old.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. So I remember King Cobra. So King Cobra.
That was the 70s era.
And the 211 was part of that, right? Was
yeah. Steel Reserve? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, Steel Reserve.
Yeah, dude. That was like the one that was like 8.9 or something, alcohol or whatever. Yeah.
No, I remember those.
You don't want to do Edward 40 hands with those.
That's what I was I'm like asking the important questions here. You ever play Edward 40 hands?
And so that
40s?
Yeah, correct. So that happened later. Like I was done with that. I didn't know. It was only my assistant, who's much younger, said something about that. I was like, that's the most ridiculous shit I ever heard of. I go, show me a picture.
Okay.
Did you do it?
No, because I've never, I was never part of my growing up.
You don't want to be like older than
No.
18
No.
doing that shit. You don't recover well.
Yeah, okay, I that's why I shared, like, the last time I remember the last time I did it. Like, the very last time I was at a UFC fight, and we got a whole bunch of guys together, and we're all sitting there just, like, just smart dudes, you know, just all duct tape 40s to our hands. And it was getting wild, the fight. And I was, like, getting all excited, and, like, all our bros were all jumping. I go, bink! Hit one of my friends in the tooth. Cracked it. Like, and then I was just like, this is dangerous. I mean, we got.
Could you imagine falling down and breaking one?
Well, I mean, what you can't
and
really
your whole
imagine,
hand?
In your hand,
Right?
yeah, that's
you
nice.
can't imagine is being older and then having to go to the bathroom before you finish them.
Oh, that was a lot of time where you're like, hey.
You don't have the
It's gotta
gas.
go free.
You don't have the gas tank like you used to.
Yeah, no, totally.
You hit like
Hey,
you hit like
Once you break the seal, you're
35.
done. Yeah,
Hey, it's like
done.
that. You got to call a friend. You know what I mean?
Oh, is there a designated
Like a special
holder?
friend,
Maybe
you
there's
know
a
what I mean?
designated
Like-
holder.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, you
You
need,
know,
yep.
that's kind of like a pickup line right there.
Yeah,
You're like,
there you
I'm
go.
just, I'm not
I
trying to
can't
be
do it.
weird. It's
Yeah.
just, I'm kind of,
Yep, they can hold it
it's
and give you a
disability
rating.
right here. I got no hands. But I like it. So I want
Yeah.
to bring that up. Is like you could. It's the beginnings. Like you can never don't discount yourself if you see it. Like you were watching. Like it started with Frasier. You're coming from drinking 40s, and you were just like, I'm into this. I want to be a part of this world, and like you could be there and belong.
Well, and you're like, it's not about where you end; it's where you start. We all have a beginning, and like and that's it. And like I think mine's somewhat unique to it, but everybody else has their own story, And I wrote this book called 99 Bottles, and it's like 99 bottles, a black sheep's guide to life-changing wines. So it tells my wine life story through 99 bottles. And so, most of it alcohol, most of it wine. I've always believed wine is a placeholder of time, right? So it's about like, you're like, oh my God, like you're in Portugal, you're sunsetting, you're walking the beach, you're drinking like this $3 bottle, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's that bottle that you associate the memory with of all those things of being on the beach. And so that's what it was. So like, I remember 1985 Chateau Reyes. Guest brings it in for lunch. It's in a decanter. I'm talking to them, pouring it, servicing it. Smoke starts to come out of the walls. The fucking place goes on fire. But before that, they say, hey, enjoy it. And so I take it back to the sommelier station to enjoy it. Like, so, because we're doing family meal. And so people are eating. And so it's so funny because like, then you see like white smoke billowing through the coming out of the vent, and I'm like, I'm smelling. It's like, oh shit. I said it smells like somebody smoking crack rock. So I'm asking everybody. I'm like, crack rock. It's like, and I smell like somebody smoking crack. And they all look at me like, they're like, André, we don't know what crack smells like. And I was like, oh shit. Well, I grew up in New Jersey. I don't smoke crack, but.
You sure as hell know what it smells like.
But we used to smell it. Yeah, we used to sell it. So like you can smell it, and so you can smell it. And they're like, what? I said, okay, I'm sorry. Let me change it. It smells like an electrical fire.
Okay, so crack smells like an electrical
but
fire.
yeah, electrical fire, yeah.
That's yeah.
And so, but like that's the thing. And so like.
So that's your memory of that wine.
Yeah. So Chateau Reyes, 85, and most of the time that's what I think of. I think of San Pellegrino sparkling water. Like when I quit. Because that's kind of what I quit over. I was just like, we ordered bottled water and it was just a fucking fiasco. We ran out of water, so we go downstairs to go get water that we would normally get before, and a fuck up, and then it was just all the shit. And I was away for the restaurant for the first time. Like I felt like I had it under control, and it was just like, and I'm going through the security line, and I'm hearing one of my sommeliers kind of like get chewed out, and it's like, this is not worth it.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, and I was like, I'm out.
That's when you got out of being a somm or being in the service industry.
That's when I quit. Yeah. And so but like the book is like all of these things, and what I do in the book is encourage people to like, what's your 99? Like these are mine. These if you drink these wines, they're not going to change your life, right? These are the wines that changed my life and shaped my life. You need to figure out what yours are and what
to inspire them
and what path you're on, and you drink whatever, and to show the diversity in that. Like I can drink. I went some places like I can drink what's that drink now where you mix wine with Gatorade? Like I'm willing to try all of that shit, right? Because to me it's just fun, right? It doesn't make me. I think some people are like, oh, because your stature, this thing that you can't do that. It's like no, I still want to do the fun shit or see if it's fun and see if it's cool, right? And what party and like the party and I think the atmosphere dictates. Like what wine you're drinking. If you're drinking wine, it's not appropriate. It's kind of like you're at a dive bar. Nobody should be drinking wine. And beware of the people who are drinking wine. Beware of the people who are drinking wine at a dive bar. It's the shittiest wine on the planet.
Yeah. No, that is true. But no, I got like a little life hack that I like to share with people because, being a winemaker and I think, we focus on the luxury wines. People are like, you would never drink a bag in a box, right? Or whatever. I think there's a time and a place for it. And,
Absolutely.
And so like one of the things like I've, hiking or backpacking, use that as your ice pack. So take that bag out of the box, toss it in the freezer, put it at the bottom level, put your cheese on top of it, and then layer everything else on top. You get up to the top of your hike, and you got like a slushy of rosé.
Correct.
It doesn't need to be great.
Correct. And I love the fact that like it's slushy because most people would be like, oh wow, it's gonna freeze. You're like, no, that's the point. That's the point, right?
And if you freeze it in a bottle, it's gonna bust the bottle open, right?
Correct.
So.
No.
Yeah, but you bring up some good points because I do see some similarities actually between the wine world, quite a few, and the restaurant world or the somm world, and how you get into it. And number one, just getting out there doing it, right? I think that wineries historically, not so much anymore, but they loved free labor during harvest, right? So you wanted to come in and be like, hey, I'll work for 2 weeks or a month or whatever, just be a hand on the deck and learn everything they can, and oftentimes those people go on to making their own wines.
Right.
They just needed that one little catalyst to be able to do it. But you also mentioned service or education to servers. Like you were at one point being educated, and then you became the educator. And to me, that's something that we're kind of missing. Like utilize the tools you have. Like you've got distributors walking through all the time. Even if it's the wine buyer, if the wine buyer says, "Hey, you 3 servers that are here on pre-shift, come over here and taste these wines with me. What do you guys think?" And like trying to encourage people to bring more people into it. I think that's something like I see waning a little bit. But maybe it's the separation between the classes of sommeliers, where you have the high, and we have that in the wine producing side too. I'm holier than thou, and they don't do any benefit to our industry really, right? They service an elite clientele.
Correct.
We need the rest of the gamut, and we need those people to find their 99 wines.
No, and what I've always told sommeliers out there is like, there's some person called Bubble Man who's getting paid on social more money than someone who knows about wine, is because they come at it from a different angle. And I've always been encouraging other sommeliers, there's money out there to be had, right? And you got to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. But you can blow all of these other people away. I'm not against, there's wine influencers, and generally those people they're not embedded or have a huge background into wine. They just someone who likes wine and it's on there and they do their thing. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And then what you have somebody who's worked in the wine industry as a gatekeeper, as a sommelier, done these things, but sometimes their ego won't allow them to step just even a lateral move here to talk about wine in a different way. Like my thing is like, talk about it like how you talk about it in a staff training. We do that all the time, right? And so like, if you can get out of your own way, there's money for you to make, if it's about money. But like, I don't know, for me, it was always like, the more the merrier, the more people come, the better. I didn't think that I was going to be an educator. The only, like, I was taught to like attack your fears. I was like, I think behind dying is like, I think public speaking is like number 2. Right? Like, so most people don't want to public speak. Think about this. Think about like how many people in our industry that turned the camera around on them after COVID, right? Before that, they would never touch it. Then all of a sudden, everybody's turning the camera around, talking, trying to educate. And my thing is like, that's cool, but you have to do it. And to me, all of this shit is practice. Like what was practice? I went to the chef and I said, listen, I'm afraid of doing the meeting. I said, so anytime I'm in this building and I'm not even working, anytime I'm in this building, you ask for me. Can you ask for me and make me do the meeting? I could be up here picking up my check.
Yeah.
Ask for me. Like, make me physically do it. And like, the whole idea was to attack my fear. Like this is, so me and my wife talk a lot about like, all right, like life skills. Like, so everybody in Brooklyn's a weird place, right? So Brooklyn, you'll show up to the soccer field and no parents have athletic gear on at all. Right? You know what I mean? So that's not their thing. And then the next thing you know, they're talking about, well, we don't keep score. And I said, but when they did win, the score, right? And then you tell them, right? So it's a weird place like that, right? Where it's not competitive, but my thing is, I'd much rather teach my kid to swim than play soccer, right? Swimming is a life skill. Not only can you save somebody else's life, you can save your own, right? So that's different than soccer. And that's what I feel like for me at work. I was like, okay, I can just be here and learn about wine. That's not going to save anybody's life, right? That's not a life skill.
Yeah.
Right. But I can learn how to speak in front of people, right? That's a life skill that I could monetize in a way.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I thought about it that way, monetizing it, but it was like, I'm going to do this every day. And I did it every day.
Just because you faced your fears. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because like they knew more about wine. Like if like, you know what I mean? Like most of the staff members, they know about 90% more about wine than any person that walks through the door for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so my thing is like, hey, and that, you know, and at TKRG, you know, the same was if you can impress the person that you work side by side with, then like you can blow anybody away in the front door. The idea was to garner respect from your peer because nobody's in it like us, right? We just finished the shift. We left here at 2:30. We might have gotten a beer, licked our wounds, and we're back here at 7.
Yeah.
Right. So it was cultish in that way, but it was fun. And I always used like my thing's like, okay, I'm gonna do this speak, and so I just did it, and then that was practice. Now all of a sudden, I don't know shit. Like now I got like this brand. People believed in me. I didn't write a business plan. I built this business off receivables, right? So, you know, like that's it. I sell the wine, so I go out there. I don't pay myself a salary, so I need to sell it. You go out on the road, and you're like, I don't know what to say. But then also you realize like, oh, I treat it like I was a waiter. I go up to the table, tell my story.
Yeah.
Right? I don't ask for the sale because I'm not a good salesperson. I don't know how to do that. And then you sell it, you say it, and you let them determine. I'm thankful for their time, and I move on. And all of that was practice. All the wine dinners for a decade, for like years.
So do you have, because I want to get back to that, but do you have a fear, or not a fear, but you have a hard time being the closer?
I think so. Right, because that's just not my style, right? And that's it. It's like I don't ask for the door. And so what I've learned over the years is like when you're with the sales rep, I learned it's like, yo, like, hold on, like at the time it's like, no, you got to hype me up and tell them why they should be listening to me. If I say all this shit about me, then I'm an asshole. Right, so that's what you do. You do that. You say introduce me. You put the battery in my back. I keep talking. I'm just gonna keep fucking talking. You tell me when it's time to go. You say, hey, Andre, you cut the battery off, and then you ask for the fucking sale.
And then you close the sale.
Yeah.
And you're the entertainment.
Yeah, totally. I'm not asking for the sale. And so that's kind of been the thing, right? You know, I don't do that. I still don't do that, and I don't know if it's right or not, but it's just in my nature. It feels more natural to me, and I just talk. And like if you know. My thing is like I'm not here to convert you. If you fuck with it, you fuck with it. I let the wine speak for itself, and then I just move on. And you know, it's so funny. Like Deutsch tried to buy my company, or what they tried to give me the Joseph Carr deal, the Josh deal, right?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, you gotta come with your checkbook. This, you know, kind of horseshit. But I just remember they were asking me all these questions like. How, like, you know, basically rotation, like how long do you, how many times do you turn inventory, like all that shit. I was like, I have no idea. I was like, you know what I mean? And my thing's like, I count the no's, brother. Yeah. I count POs. You know
but it's almost like, you came knocking on my door, so you already kind of know this information.
So they read it. So it was 2012, end of 2012, maybe 13. And I was like, I had like this full spread in like the Wall Street Journal. And then the title of the email was, are you ready to make your next million? And that was Deutsch.
No way.
Yeah. And then it was kind of the thing where I come from the restaurant industry, so they're out in Long Island City, I forgot where they're in like White Plains or some shit, and I take a train out there, and they ain't got no car to come pick me up, and that's not me being a diva, but that's just something that it resonated with me. I was like, you want to buy my company? You can't send a car from like an intern, like 5 minutes. I took a cab. Like, it just was in the back of my mind, especially from the place that I come from, right? Like,
did you tell them that?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Said for future deals, they
I didn't.
Consider having a fucking car.
I feel like they were too occupied with a brand called Adult Chocolate Milk. I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Plus,
was there a brand called Adult Chocolate Milk?
Yeah. And so
I missed that one. I saw sexual chocolate.
Yeah. So sexual. Yeah. So and it's funny, right? So those dudes. We were doing
slow down wines.
Yeah. So they became my people, but I didn't know them, and we were doing these events called what was called the Wine Riot. It was these guys based out of Boston. They kind of blew up, and they were having these tastings with it's like you would have dug it. It was like all like young kids, under 27, and then they had an app, and so you could rate all the wines, and I won every single year, right? So they can rate all the wines, like how many thumbs up, and it was just really kind of cool. And then what happened is, like the thing next to me said sexual chocolate. And so they all thought of me. Those are white boys, right? So they all thought it was me. So everybody, so and I'm like, what? the fuck is going on here? Right? And then what happened is, so I got a long line on my shit.
Oh,
and
man.
then the sexual chocolate dudes come out and they start pouring their wine for people at the back of my line. They thought it was my shit. And I was like, absolutely not. And then I became friends. They were the best. And like, it was great. And and I had to give them props. So I was like, I'm glad you got there before I got there, because I totally would have taken that name. Like, I thought it was dope. Yeah, they were cool. And I think like, I think
we gotta get the wine riot going again.
Yeah, no, those guys. Yeah. So they I forgot his name. He the guy started it. He comes out. He had a book that just came out. But yeah, it was just really fun, really cool. And for me, I've always looked at it like all the things that I do, whether some of them outrageous or not, or like whatever. Just like, I feel like they need to be presented in the world. They need to know. People in the wine industry, or people need to know that these things exist, just so they know not to take themselves seriously, and that they too can do their own version of it, right? Yeah. We started making T-shirts because that's how I saw the world. Like, some of them I got sued over, some of them I didn't. Burger King, that's the Italian. That's the king of Italian wines. And then how I looked at the world, it was so immersed in wine. I started looking at it's like Barolo King. Barolo is the king of Italian wines.
You over that?
And then I made T-shirts. No, because like the big companies like Burger King, Oscar Mayer, Gatorade, they're big enough to and understand what it means to be parody.
Yeah.
The wine industry hadn't been, and so they, if it was something in a reference, they didn't like. So, I made a shirt called Run DRC. Right, so it took the Run DMC logo, said that one, because I got sued over it, and then it had like a stencil cut out of Albert de Verlaine, and so I was like, okay, so I'm rocking with that, and then I remember on Facebook I get tagged and like, hey, I'm at the DRC tasting in London, rocking my Run DRC T-shirt, and you can see Albert de Verlaine in the background. I was like, this is not gonna end well, and so they sent me some paperwork. And and so, but like,
you must get a lot of paperwork.
I do.
Though, because wasn't that with the wine label when you came out with Mouton?
So Mouton Noir Wines. I was in a legal battle with Mouton Rothschild. I was Sutter Home came after me for some stuff. But like also like I have to tell you,
you're pushing the limits, man. That's a good thing for the industry.
Well, so I didn't feel like that. Like I felt insecure. Like I was like, wow, like there's people walking around thinking that I would infringe upon their trademark. Like viciously in a way, like to do these things. Like it's all in admiration. And so the only person I know, right? Like the only person I knew was Gary Vaynerchuk. And I was like freaked out. So I called him. I was calling them, and I was like, hey, and I said, they're trying to sue me over this thing. He goes, well, welcome to the wine industry. That's how he expected to answer. That's how he answered. And he was like, and it was great. He's like, listen, if you want to be a titan of industry, you got to lawyer up. This is how this is going to go down.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But and I think you bring a great point up, and I hadn't really thought of it like that. We're like, the bigger companies, those corporate companies, they get the parody, and they see the comedy, and they see that it actually is probably a benefit to their brand.
But they're that iconic.
Yeah, I mean that's a cool thing, right? Yeah. And then we're also protectionists in the wine world. Like it's I mean I even find myself like I'll call up people. We won't like just send them paperwork. We'll be like, hey, your wax dip is looking awfully similar to ours. Can we change a color? Can we change the style or whatever? And like oftentimes they're like, we'll change the angle and.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, because like at least you give them the chance. Like I think for the big companies, it's kind of that thing where they have so many people on the payroll. Right, they have attorneys on the retainer, and so I learned to like through my conversations. Like, this is what Gary's like. Listen, I own pretty much everybody's URL in the wine industry, and he was using it to redirect to his store. Yeah, and like they all came knocking, and I was like, okay, so I was like, okay, all right, I get it, right? Like not to like purposely ruffle feathers, but like I get it. And then also I was kind of like, oh wow, like fuck, they noticed me. But then again, that was the part of social media. Like all social media platforms I got on, like after Facebook, I got on because of Gary. It was my friend. Gary's like, listen, you got to get on Twitter. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. And he's like, you got to get on there. So I was like, okay, so I'm on here.
What do I do now?
And he's like, all right, like, okay. I was like, he goes, well, follow some people. And I was like, well, dude, like I'm only following like 6 people. And so like it get to the end of the feed so quick, right? And he's like, no, follow some people. And then he was like, okay, you got to go on this thing. And I think they had just changed the name. It was called like Twitter search. He goes, get on that. I said, okay. And then he said, it wasn't an app for it. So you had to get on your laptop and you'd go on, you type it in and it would be like, and he goes, type in Chardonnay. And then it would go, and it would pull up all the conversations about Chardonnay. And then once you got in there, then he's like, all right, now put your 2 cents in. I was like, but then he asked me. And he's like, he goes, it doesn't matter. He goes, you got to treat it like it's a cocktail party. And so like all of the social I had been on. And so I think like, I wasn't one of the largest following on it, but I was relevant on it. And I think maybe people were paying attention. And maybe that's why some of the bigger brands or some of the other people, or like found their way on my site. But like also, it was fun to see it. I don't think people were like ratting. Like that person was really happy to wear that T-shirt.
Yeah.
Right. And and I'm sure that Albert Verlaine was not happy. But like the idea was let's all have fun. Let's loosen up a little bit. We want wine, and it's different. Like I don't think it's the pressure like of what I had like nowadays. Like I think people learn to relax a little bit, and it's not kind of like so like it has like a it's like it has like this this grasp on it, like this really tight. Like I think people are starting to understand and be a little bit more lax with it. Like the idea, you wouldn't think that like big wineries like like cult wineries would be interested in influencers, like what I mean, kind of thing, right? And so I don't really consider myself an influencer, but like I'm just working the business. I built this thing.
Well, they'd be smart to be focused on influencers,
correct,
no matter how big or small. I mean,
correct, and that's what I said. It's something for your budget, no matter what.
Yeah.
I built my company off Facebook at dark posts, right? Which Gary introduced me to, which were basically ads before they were ads.
Oh.
Yeah. So like I
was going to say I wasn't even familiar with dark posts.
Yeah. So they called them dark posts, and so that's like they wouldn't appear on your feed, but they would appear somewhere else, and that was the beginning. From my understanding, was the beginning of ads, and so. That was like, I mean, I still think like Facebook ads are like the best advertising platform ever built. But when it was dark posts, it was wild. It was like you could target race, you could target gender, and so so it was just like out of control. So I'd be in like Colorado Springs. We would go into this store, this wine shop, and it was filled to the brim. He would have wine everywhere, on the floor, everywhere. You would trip over wine. And I remember we showed him some wine. He's like, I really like your Chardonnay, knock on wood. He said, but you know what? To be honest with you, as you can see, the store is full. I've never heard of this, your wine, or you, and no one's ever come in here asking for it. So unfortunately, I have to say no. I said, great. So we walk back to the car, and the sales rep, and I'm on my phone. I'm talking to him across the hood of the car, and I said, what's the area code here? And I ran in Target ads for knock on wood there. 2 weeks later, they ordered the wine.
Wow.
Damn.
And because people were coming in and asking for it. Yeah. Right? And so
this
for
is
me,
around like 90
no,
2000,
just like
mid 2000s?
Yeah, no, this is this is like fucking like 2010 or 11, maybe 12.
Okay.
Well, and that's what so now what would have been different was I would have told the story. Like I just ran ads that had no talking on it. It was just like knock on wood.
Well, it was pretty limited back then. Now,
I wouldn't have shot a video. So now I would just shoot a video and just say the story. It's like, hey guys, I just went to a wine shop here. They never heard of my wine, but how many of you guys? I know I got fans here, people who want to have the wine. Yeah. Let them know by going and ask for it. Different, right?
Yeah.
All right. And so
I do think COVID brought that out in a lot of people. Where like,
totally.
You everybody's comfortable with a camera.
Yeah, they weren't so much before.
No.
Yeah, it was part of a survival, and that's what I tell everybody. It's like you just got to get over yourself being in front. Like I just don't give a fuck anymore. Like people walk on the street and like, hey, can we take a picture? I'm like, yeah. They go, you want to see it? I was like, fuck no. Like you know what I mean? Like if I start to worry about that, then it's like all this thing I can't control that part of it. I can control the part that I can carry. I can control, and I'll okay, cool. Let's take a photo. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I like that too because you both have that in common. You and Joe, great storytellers, but then also very creative and very hands-on with the packaging and how it's developed. So when I'm thinking about something, an ad popping up, I mean, if you saw an ad pop up and you couldn't really tell the story in that moment, but you saw OPP and you saw the way that you have that and the whole design of it and everything like that, like there's a story being told visually and aesthetically. Yeah. And so, and I think, and you can probably relate to that too with some of your packaging and everything. And so it's interesting to see that when you weren't there.
I do want to get into the OPP thing because that was one of my favorite songs growing up.
Value by nature, dude.
But I do. First, I want to get into kind of because we kind of just.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry,
We gotta,
guys.
like, watch
I
some-
totally just skipped the whole fucking thing. I'm sorry.
But to finish up on the trademark thing, is there's a couple brands that really like have always like they rode that line, and I always thought they were hilarious, and the industry hated them. But it was especially one called Goats du Rhum.
Oh yeah, I remember them.
Okay, so Goats du Rhum was kind of like a parody on Côte du Rhône.
Mm-hmm.
And man, France just fucking, like, you know, they were ready to start a world war, I think.
Yeah, no, totally.
Over that. And then my favorite one was the more obscure Screaming Seagull.
Oh shit, no, I don't know that one.
I think it was like a little tiny flash in the pan.
That is
I actually
so good.
I actually think they got
That is
shut
so
down,
good.
and it had that
Seagull?
it had that little, like, you know,
The wood cut out.
the
but
wood
yeah,
cut out
it was
of it.
good, yeah.
It's a fucking seagull.
Is this really the end? Unbelievable. Find out next week.